happy to introduce you to our panelists for this evening. So we have with us the fabulous Lady Di of Lady Di Yarns. So you have to say hello, Diane, so they could see your face for a second.
Hi, everybody. Diane, Lady Diane. Don't need to say anything else. I'm good.
Wonderful. Good for now. Then we also have Natalie Thomas of Detroit Knots, our crocheter, no, our Tunisian crocheter and more. So, hey, Natalie.
Hello. Hi, everybody. And I saw some people from Detroit in the house, so I'm excited about that.
Wonderful. They wouldn't leave you out there. Then we have the amazing Shayla Jones, Black Pearl Magic, crafter maker extraordinaire.
Hi.
Wonderful. And then last but not least, Vincent Williams of Vesuvio Crafts, talented Renaissance person. So Vincent.
Hello, everybody. Good to see you.
Great. So, I want to get one little icebreaker out of the way. So we'll go into we'll speak to the makers and hear their perspectives. One thing I want to say, in the past 2 years, there have been a lot of conversations about the lack of true BIPOC and other dimensions of diversity in the crafting space. And so those were necessary and needed conversations. But when we thought about what we wanted to bring to the space, we know we didn't want to talk say the same stories or tell the same tales, right? There's been tremendous advancement, still not done, but we want this conversation to be forward looking. We'll look back slightly as we tell our stories, but the goal of this conversation is really knit the future. Where do we want to see this go? And so if you came to hear us rehash the past, sorry, we're forward looking toward the future. Speaking of future, let's do an icebreaker. There are some up and coming people, some up and coming creatives in the social media sphere. And so we started off by saying people with less than 5,000 followers. We may have a few that have about 10,000 or less than 10,000. These are up and coming makers who we want to just shine a light on prior to us jumping into our conversation. So we're going to go in reverse order, and I'm going to ask Vincent, who would you share as an up and coming creative that we should follow?
Great question. One of the people that initially comes to mind is Laverne, the heart and hands behind all things Busy Peach on Instagram. She is based in Atlanta. I got to meet her pre-coronavirus, so we got to hug it out and get that good maker love. She does everything from making yarn, so she's new to the world yarn dyer. She makes stitch markers. She offers these wonderful Saturday events, sort of like how we're hanging out now. And she speaks to other makers on her Instagram lives on every Saturday morning, I believe, every Saturday morning. So, yeah, she's doing great things in the community, a very, very beautiful light.
Awesome. Thank you. Shayla, who's the up and coming maker that you'd like to shine a light on?
Well, I first want to say that there are so many amazing makers that I have come across recently that I've been following that I think deserve the spotlight shined on them. But I think that when I heard the question, the first person that came to mind was Natasha from Crochet All Day. And she's somebody who, when I first started out, she was very, we had a lot of conversations and she was very welcoming. And then I discovered that she has an Etsy shop and I was super excited. And basically she sells like crochet goods, earrings, bags. I know she sells like dishcloths, things like that. And she just recently got into making bags and she did reach out to me like for advice, and I gave her a little push because we want all the people. We want everybody. It's room for everybody. So definitely Natasha from Crochet All Day.
Great. When you get a chance, put her Instagram in the chat, or somebody could put her Instagram in the chat so we can follow her. Great. Natalie, who would you shine a light on?
So I am keeping it close to home. So I'm going to shout out to Sia from Pearly Tricot. Um, so she started out dyeing yarn just for herself, and she also designs under Joanna's Crochet. But I'm talking about the yarn today. So after much, we'll call it encouragement, she recently launched her Etsy shop. So it's Pearly Tricot. Her colors are gorgeous, and I'm super excited to see, where she goes from here.
Awesome. So go ahead and drop her name in the chat as well. Lady Di, who would you offer?
I'm really excited about Akia. From her Instagram handle is Dr. Charlie Untangled. She is actually she's a knitwear and crochet designer, and she's doing our Ida B. Wells for Black History for Women's History Month. And she's from Chicago. We've had really great conversations. I'm from the Chicago area. Ida B. Wells spent a lot of her life in Chicago, and she has her doctorates in like biomedical engineering, and she's just her knitwear designs are just amazing. Knitwear and crochet designs are amazing, and she's got a new pattern out for her birthday. And if you go to her Instagram handle, you can hear the vision behind the new pattern. And she's also going to be the copy editor for our first publication, Candid and Colorful. And she's just amazing. There's so much talent out there, and she's definitely an upcoming designer. And yeah, it's been great.
Awesome. Thank you. Austin, who would you offer?
Yes, thanks for asking, Cecilia. The individual that I'm going to offer, so as many of you may know, I'm fairly new to the fiber arts community. So I actually did a Instagram handle, an Instagram tag search on Black crafters to find who I wanted to talk about today. So the individual that I found, his name is Michael, and he is from Piece for Crafting, which is Piece, the number 4, Peace Crafting. Sorry, Piece for Peace Crafting. And his name is Michael. He's based in Chicago. And he also has a podcast that he does. And he is announcing this week that he's starting a knit along on Monday. So go ahead and go over to his Piece for Peace Crafting Instagram and join in on his knit along if you would like.
Awesome. So of course I don't follow my own rules, so I'll be brief. I'll be brief. So I'm gonna offer Niece of Cosmic Crochet Creations. She makes amazing work, and I think we should follow her because she really, her fashions, her designs, the way she takes pictures of them, it's truly art. The other person that I would offer is Whitney of Whitney Marie Anderson. She makes amazing stitch markers, brown people stitch markers. I think that is so fabulous. And then the last person, because I'm sneaking them in, is Sam of Bobble Club of House. I just love her energy, and I love what she's doing to bring attention, and the whole her crafting blog and her podcast. I think she's really talented, and I would shine a light on her. She's definitely someone to watch. So I love that we're starting off with sharing the spotlight. So we started talking already. Why don't you all talk about your fiber story? Tell it really, if you can tell us your fiber origin story, and why don't we bring two points together at the same time. Share your fiber origin story, and tell me, thinking back to when you first started, when did you realize that there was a lack of diversity, like you didn't see yourself? So if you can, as you weave your tale. So we'll switch it up, starting with Shayla.
All right. So my fiber journey started in 2013. I started knitting. I learned from a coworker who is phenomenal. And we started knitting for charity. And of course, I just made my usual, the usual beginner project, the long, never-ending scarf that was all wonky and really crazy looking. And then once I started, I was like, I really like this. And I was grasping everything really fast. So I jumped on YouTube University and learned all the things. And then I continued making, and I think I found the fiber community, that there was a fiber community that existed in 2018. And when I came in, it was during a time when a lot of crucial conversations had just begun. So I think I realized immediately that there was a lack of representation within the community. However, through social media, of course, I sought out those people that looked like me in the community. And I've grown that list a lot since I started. But I think that I knew immediately when coming in that there was definitely a lack of representation. I started my business in 2018, in February of 2018, and I got off to a fast start. It was kind of I was just kind of like baptized by fire. But I did my first fiber event, and it was the Yarn Bazaar with Christy Glass. And at that event, a woman, she came up to my booth and she was like, "Brown people," and I was like, "Hi." And it took me so aback because you could see that she was genuinely excited to see a person who looked like her. And I think that it really set in at that moment that there is a gap in the community and there's a need for us here. Like there's a place for us and it hasn't fully been filled.
Okay, thank you. And I do remember that you at the awesome.
Another baptized by fire event.
Yeah, drinking from the fire hose, definitely, right? But it's great,
Yes.
right? You and filled the gap immediately, so that's wonderful. So now we'll ask Lady Di. Tell us your fiber story, and when did you notice the lack?
So I would say that when I moved to Boston, that was the case, but there were very few of us in our knitting circle who are African American, Black, and in the knitting group. But it was actually when I started the business, when I left my full-time job, took that risk. So it was my first trade show was in 2014, and it was the TNNA trade show, and I was really just happy and giddy just to be there and have the business there and to think about the business opportunities. And one of the people that was there with me had already did a full walk around, and she goes, "Diane," she goes, "You're the only Black business here." And I was like, "It's like 300 businesses, like 300, like, what are you talking about?"
And remind me, what year was this?
It was 2014.
Wow. Okay.
So, I had already started the business like in, 2011, 2012, just selling locally. But when I decided that I wanted to really get on like the national stage, it was 2014. And so when we went, I was like, "This is impossible." So I walked around and I was like, "This is a problem, like a serious, serious problem." And I was like, "I know we're out there. Like, I just know I connected with some indie dyers via Facebook. I knew that there were like pockets of us, but we hadn't fully, like I feel like the Black community particularly hadn't fully like connected until we found each other on Instagram and started looking at hashtags, and everything clicked. But 2014, it was like a huge eye-opener. And in 2015, Viola Davis, I think she won her Emmy, or I think she won her Oscar, and she gave a speech about diversity in the movie industry. And there's like, there are, they say that there aren't roles for us, but there are. You have to be like intentional and want diversity. And it really sparked me to just like say, like, there is a lack of, it's like the elephant in the room, like the lack of diversity with businesses. And I received like feedback from friends that are like, "Why would you put your business at risk?" And I was like, "Why not? Like, it's an important issue." But because I was speaking about diversity in a very white dominant industry, that was a risk being Black, because that was something that nobody wanted to talk about. Right. And so it was 2014. It was the eye opener.
Yeah. Wow. Great. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I have my own stories as well, but this is not the time for that right now. Later. So let's hear from Natalie. Nat?
Well, I learned to crochet when I was little. Fast forward to when I discovered what Instagram was, and it was pretty much immediate. So Instagram will show you what's there, what's popular, which wasn't me. So I had to like really look for, Black people on social media. I discovered what hashtags were, how to use them, and then that's how I found my people. But other than that, like if I had never done that, I think it probably would have been 2019 when it
Wow.
happened,
Yeah.
when everyone surfaced. Well, they were already there, but yeah. So that was pretty much it. It was an immediate knowledge that people that looked like me were missing, at least from what Instagram was showing me. And I learned about algorithms. And so all of the posts that people were liking, commenting on, weren't posts from Black people. So that's not what Instagram was showing me.
Right.
And then I created like a community of people where I'm not going to say everyone is Black because that's not feasible. It's not what I want either. But then I found people through them. So you find a few Black people, you find more Black people through Black people. That's how that works.
And so on.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's how that worked.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Vincent, let's hear your fiber story, your origin story.
Okay. I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. In terms of delving deep into my craft, I initially started with my like first completed like full-fledged project because I wanted something to wear when I was outside and it's chilly and icy in Georgia early in the morning with horses. So I went to the store, purchased a scarf that I thought was big enough, wrapped it the way that I wanted to wrap it, and it looked like I shopped at the Baby Gap. So I was like, well, we got to figure out how to make like the proper sized Vesuvio's Crafts, like 6'3" man length garment. So that's when I looked at a couple of books from the library, which had horrible little black and white photos, no bigger than the size of my thumb. And I was like, how do I get from point A to B? I see the two photos, but what's in between? So I figured it out, but then YouTube became more accessible with the quality of the videos, and people weren't like going at 17 miles per second, showing you're supposed to be doing this. So once YouTube became a little better, then that really solidified what I thought I was doing, and if I was correct. But sometimes you just want that reassurance because I didn't know anybody who really was taking fiber to the places that we're taking fiber to, in terms of garments and 3D murals and stuff like that. So once I found patterns and things like that, I was modifying like women's stuff to fit like a man's silhouette, which was tricky, but it was definitely helpful in learning along my journey. And the first time that I didn't realize like it wasn't something that I noted to myself because so many of the things that I am involved in, I am always like the one Black guy or like the one guy. So like working like with animals, generally it'll be a lot of petite white women or working, not working, but playing classical instruments like the cello and the bass. Like you don't always see like me, 6'3" man with locks, who's not like ethnically ambiguous. Like you don't see like me. So I wasn't like immediately noticing that I didn't see me until I saw Tony of Teal Yarncraft's hand in a photo. And so I saw just brown hand, and I feel like we all have that like instantaneous like brown hand. Let me click it. Let me see. So that was my interaction. I was like, oh, hold on, who is this? This is the first like Black person whose hands I've seen. Then I saw her face, and I was like, follow, interact. Hey, how's it going? Just wanted to. I see you. I support you. So that was my like first delve into seeing like, wow, there really isn't me present within this industry, but I've started to find my community. So
I love
that's my
that.
little
And
fiber
now
story.
you found your tribe, so to speak,
Yes.
right? You found your people. So you know
Mhm.
what? I think let's talk about why, right? So we've heard representation matters and that it's important, but why is it important as a Black an artist, a Black creative in the space, why is it important to see other people who look like you? Why does that matter? And so whoever wants to take it can jump right in.
Okay, I can go.
Okay.
Jump at once. So it representation really is important because it brings that immediate, like very instantaneous sense of belonging and community and being able to share your thoughts openly and feel like you'll be heard and you're valued. So representation really allows you to feel like you are valued and you're not coming from a place of um, let me see if they'll hear me or let me see if this will work for me or I can like mutate what is present to work for me. It's like an immediate sense of this is targeted towards me. This is saying that this is your seat here at the table, this is your seat at this table, and also this table. We are ears, we would like to hear from you.
Okay. Your seat at the table. I'm taking note of some of the themes. All right. Who wants to copy yet? Who wants to comment?
I'll go. I agree 100% about the seat at the table. I think that it's important for everybody, no matter what color you are or what walk of life you come from, to know that you belong and that there is a seat at the table for you. But also, I think that when you come into a community and you do see people that look like you realize that not only is there a seat for you at the table, but that if there isn't a seat for you at the table, there are other people who need a seat as well. So just make your own table.
I love that. I love that. I love that you said not even make your own seat or pull your own seat. You said
No, just
table.
build a whole
Whole
table.
table.
Build your whole table. Build a table. Okay, so we are building tables here. I love it. I love it.
I,
Nat,
oh,
Di, go ahead,
I
Di.
just want to add too, along with that, when I think about the business that I've built and my approach to it, like with representation, I also know, I always, data and statistics show that 44% of, was it millennials, are people of color, 48% of Zennials are people of color, and that's the largest adult and youth diversity in America's like history. And so the fact that this generation, that those two generations, and even some of the older generations, people of color, Black people, we are choosing to spend our money the way that we want to. So when we talk about representation, we actually have a buying power that a lot of we say white people do not understand, and do not understand the historical shift that is about to happen in this country and around the world. So when we talk about building, having a seat at the table, my approach is, particularly when I think about the collaborations, is that kind of what Shayla said. I don't really need the seat at the table. You're not gonna give it to me. I'm gonna do it myself. I'm not gonna just build my own table. I'm gonna build a whole building. And I'm gonna put the people that I want in there that represents me. And if you wanna join us and to be part of that diversity and to be part of where that transition in American history is going, you're more than welcome to join us. But you recognize that it's very, very important to understand that, and that this is thinking about the younger generation. It's like I'm at the tail end of Generation X, and I know that there are a lot of people in here who are Generation X or older or whatever. This is a very historical, this is the huge cultural shift in the country. And if you are a shopper, if you're a business, and if you're Black, this is the best time to have a business. And this is the best time to have your own table. This is the best time to build your own building.
I love the build your own building. And I would be a horrible wife if I did not acknowledge that my husband started a group that, I mean, his numbers are staggering, called Buy Black for Life, where he's showcasing Black owned businesses, because to your point, Di, the Black buying power, the spending power is astronomical. It's growing, but also the shoppers are intentional. And that's really key.
And I forgot, like, people, if you are here and you have a business, yarn shop, if you're a maker, a businesswoman, business, whatever, you know, look at the data and look at the statistics. A lot of people look at the trends and what's popular in the crafting community. But if you really start looking at things that are outside of the crafting community, as far as data, you will see the shift. And just because right now there's this white dominant, you know, industry that doesn't, it's not going to be that way for long. It's really is going to be representative, and that is rooted in, you know, if you think about 400 years of systematic racism and where Black people were picking cotton, we were in service, we were doing all the things. Knitting was a necessity and not luxury, you know, luxury and leisure, well, both. And now you're seeing that shift. You know, things are changing, and it's about everyone wanting to be part. It's about us coming together to being part of that change.
Love it.
And the Black buying power is like 2 trillion, maybe 2
trillion. Yeah, it's so funny. At work, I've been in this mode, and so just did a presentation with Nielsen, right? Like educating our markers on Black buying power. And so, you know, Black buying power, the LGBTQ buying power, Asian, Hispanic over indexes by contributing into the gross national product, considering that they earn less. But that's, we can have a whole economic conversation. But really, at the end of the day, Di, you are speaking facts, right? The data doesn't lie. And so it's really important, if anybody is a business person, you not only need to look at the census data, right? You need to look at the buying power data and the demographic, right? You need to look at, you know, the demographic seismic shift that is happening right now. And so, Nat, jump on in.
I was thinking about representation in terms of my children and what that means for them. Like, my oldest child wants to be a ballerina. She came out dancing. And so Misty Copeland was a big freaking deal for her. And to see her watch this powerful Black woman dance in the body that she was given and not told that she needed to have, like, that's representation for me. And so for me, in this maker space, and in this creative space, I want to be able to show her what's possible, even in what I do, creating a community in social media and giving back to that community and being that person who supports other women makers, other Black makers, other male makers, whatever you identify as, you know, like just supporting other creatives. And I need her to see that. And so that's representation for me.
Absolutely. I love that. You know, and so again, this tsunami, right? And so again, I haven't checked for the past week because I've been focused on other areas, but I really am looking forward to the census data, right? Because we've seen every census, the people of color collective, that number is growing and growing and growing. And there are already some cities and some parts of the country that the minority is the majority, right? And so it's important for us to keep our eye on that. And it's not that, you know, we want to be exclusive, it's we want to be included. But if we won't be included, then we'll build our own, right? And so the smart business person is like, well, let me think about what's the most inclusive platform. And so thinking about the past 2 years, and if we think about like in the crafting space, there's been tremendous intentional actions to be more visibly inclusive, right? And so we've seen, whether it's social media or publications or fiber festivals or, you know, any place where there's a teacher, we've seen more of different dimensions of diversity. Now, that being said, what advice do we have to say, how do we make sure that this is not a fad? That this is not a phase, right? To Di's point that if you're a Black maker right now, this is a good time because people want to be intentional and be supportive of Black makers. But how do we make sure that this is something that is sustainable? And so what's your advice on the sustainability and the intentionality? Whoever wants to take it can jump on in. Everyone's, I'll give you a second.
I think that from the perspective of a business owner in the fiber community, I think that connecting with other other people, whether they be Black or white, connecting with other makers in this community and build that align with my values and ideas, I think that it sets the wheels in motion for um, a a worthwhile long relationship. And I think that building those relationships is super important. Like I feel like if you find your tribe, then there'll always be a space for you. And I think that if as Black and brown people, if we find our space where we find that we connect with people, no matter who they are, we'll always be able to leave a footprint in the fiber community.
Okay, so finding a space and leaving a footprint. I appreciate that. Okay. Anybody else want to add on how do we make sure this is not a temporary phase?
I'll go. So this has me thinking about collaborations. So collaborating in the makerspace, you can collaborate with many people. So for me, I've been blessed to have people reach out to me and say, I love your work. Let's work together. And that has created space for me to grow my business. And so as I grow, I want to create that same space for other people. So it's all about sharing your audience because there's enough room for everybody. As many times as people say, oh, the market is oversaturated and I can't do the same thing someone else is doing, but understanding that no one else can do that thing the way you do.
Yes.
And so it doesn't matter if somebody else is doing it because it's not the same. And so being sustainable for me means keeping it going among all of us. Say, okay, I'm going to collaborate with Shayla because I might want some stuff. And, I have things going on with Diane later this year, and I'm excited about that. And, who knows what else can happen. So as I'm collaborating with other people, we are sharing each other. And that's the biggest point. That's the biggest part of it. When you're collaborating with someone, it needs to be mutual. So as they're talking you up, you have to talk them up. It can't be one-sided. You got to put in your work too to keep it going.
I love it. I love it.
I know that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No,
You go.
I was going to say that I know that stealing a word from that Diane had said in our conversation earlier is talking about collaboration over competition. So
I was going to say that.
I was going to talk about.
I know you were. But I just want to just get in there a little.
Yeah, exactly right. So what you all don't know is that we had a prep call, and that prep call was supposed to be 30 minutes, and I think about it at an hour and 15. We were like, we should probably save something for Saturday. So in talking about sustainability and intentionality, since it was brought up, let's talk about the importance of collaborating versus the notion of competition, the notion of the scarcity versus abundance.
Yeah. In 2018 it was the first time that Lady Dyers did a club. And actually, it's quite interesting that we're having this conversation because on my iPhone, I get the history, the moments in history, whatever. And the photo of the Winter Solstice Club that I did, the first one in 2018, popped up, and we're having this conversation. And when in 2018 and 2017, I've continued to work with my business coach, and I was saying that the only way I'm going to be able to sell my yarn, and the reason why was because, a lot of Black dyers, even makers, were not getting the prolific support from other designers or other businesses that we see a lot of yarn companies who still do right now. And so I said, if I'm going to sell my yarn, I also need to make sure that I bring along people who look like me and who are BIPOC. And I said, I'm going to do these box subscriptions. It started, and that was a whole learning experience, right? And so that first club, we sold 75. right? And it was at that time, that was huge. That was more than I had expected. And I said, you know what? I am going all in. I'm taking a risk. And then we had the Fab 8, which, you know, I hope to do a Fab 8 reunion this summer. That's down the road. But the clubs and the collaborations that we've been doing since then, and particularly that took off last year, you know, they have pop culture themes. They represent like 95 of these the percent of the clubs have BIPOC representation. And I have never looked at it as competition. I looked at it as opportunities for all of us. And we have perfected that over time. And you know, someone made a comment of like in here about like making sure we buy from Black businesses, but it's more than that. It's not even support anymore. I'm talking about investment. And I talked about this with the group when we had our pre-conversation. Mm-hmm. What we had did last year with all the clubs and collaborations, you know, I talked to my bookkeeper. We gave 6-figure dollar amounts to BIPOC businesses through the clubs and collaborations and people I hire. And I don't think anyone other business can say the same, right? So like that money that we get from that club goes into the pockets of other BIPOC makers. And that is really the goal of and by being in these clubs, it is to promote their businesses as well. And I have seen and I've heard how their businesses have grown. I can see the collaborations that have spewed out where they're collaborating with other people, things are getting sold out. That is the whole point about there's plenty of room for everyone. There's no need to feel like you have to claim this or do that. I see all the clubs and collaborations that are going on. I do feel like we had a lot to do with that, and that is what I want to see. Some people will say, "Well, Diane, they're stepping in your lane." No, they're not. They're doing their thing. They're growing. You know, it's the different mindset you have to have. And you know, if you want to be sustainable, this is, and I won't say too much. If you really want to be sustainable, you have to also think outside the box. You know, everyone follows a trend. Sometimes you need to take a step back and say, is it really what you want to do for your business? That's when you have to start, you know, asking people and to start strategizing. And I will tell you that since that, you know, the 2019 conversation, I still can see that, you know, I can say, how can I say this? For a while, I always felt that people were just buying my stuff because I was Black and they wanted to support a Black business. Last year, and even this year so far, what has shown is that all people are investing in Lady Di yarns because they're coming back in droves, and they constantly hear that the product is great. So there's a different mindset of just not buying one time. It is the continued return that I have seen that tells me that it's not just this one-off. And it goes to that level of like white guilt. I need to buy because I feel guilty. I'm going to support this Black business because I feel guilty, instead of saying I like their product.
Yeah, and that's only going to get you one purchase, and what you're talking about is repeat, and that's the sustainable, right? That's the aspect. Great, Vincent, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, I was gonna go ahead and say things similar to Diane about investing in the community, like in terms of community over competition. We are all individuals, but we're all not solely fiber artists. We have a lot of intersectionality, and like when you come to Vesuvio's Crafts, you will receive all of that. Like you come here and you receive the joy that I have for music, the joy that I have for nature. And so for me, one thing that I've been enjoying to do, like every year for my birthday since 2015, I've been doing a Makers of Color box, and it was named Makers of Colors, the MOC box, because I want you to see not only us as knitters and crocheters, but I had someone who is a photographer donate 1 hour of a photography shoot to whoever won, and they would fly to you and have a shoot with you. I had someone who was a musician give away free tickets for that. Someone who had a skincare line donate their entire line of products. We have stitch marker people who like make desserts. We had someone who makes desserts, and like now you all know the luxury of getting the online apps like drive up and pick it up. Well, they shipped it out like how you have HelloFresh and all those other places. Like they
That.
put their desserts in a little box and sent them off. So think of us as multifaceted individuals that we have a lot of intersectionality, and you can collaborate with people not only within the fiber industry, but think of other aspects of our industry, because the last people who donated their services last year were a tech editor to donate their time to any up and coming designer to help them out with their patterns, because as a designer you might not know like the resources that are available to make your pattern the best it can be. So for me, it's not only collaborating with other designers and companies, but also making sure to highlight the beauty of every aspect of our community, because there's so many people who have something to share.
I love it. I love it. That's so good. I'm gonna hold off on the other question that I wanted to ask, because you all touched upon it a little bit, but we'll make sure that we give advice on how do we make sure that we create opportunities. I want to give anyone who is on the call an opportunity to go ahead and put a question in. If you have a question or a comment, I've been seeing the comments come through, but I should have said, if you also have a question, you can put the question in the chat. And so while I wait for questions to come through, we'll go back to that point that I was going to make. So my dear friend, Mickey Taylor from Essence always says, you know, it's when we think about making opportunities for other people, it's not that I've made it and I'm going to send the elevator back down so that you can come too. She's like, no, get in the elevator, go down and show them on the way up, right? And so Vincent, what you're speaking about is like, it's not just to say, oh, you need a tech editor, but here's why you need a tech editor. You know, Di and I sit on the council of Vogue, and one of the things that I've been so proud of is our Launchpad, right? So the whole point of Launchpad is because as a small business, how do you upscale? How do you factor in your bookkeeping and making sure that your supply and demand meets, right? It's really important that somebody who's gone before you can lockstep with you and show you. And that's so key. Hold on. Good hashtags for Brown. So if everyone can help out Lori by putting some good hashtags in there, we'll make sure that we give you some you know, that they're BIPOC. Of course, BIPOC and Fiber is a great resource for BIPOC makers, Black makers, if you want to be intentional, right? So talk about how we, and Di, I think you touched on this with your clubs, right? The whole point of your clubs is to provide opportunity for other makers.
But so I just want to just jump on that too, is that like with the Launchpad program, it's like, I don't want people to go through what I went through. And I mean, and there, like, it was really rough in the 2013, 2014, before even the conversation, was really, really rough. And, you know, I went to a couple national shows prior to that and received some level of discrimination where I was like, do I file a lawsuit against this? Like, you know, like it was crazy. So I think that like the Launchpad program also really talks about how you own your own work. Like, how do you build a website and own it and build the revenue and things like that. Anyway, so yeah, I just wanted to.
That's good. Okay, great. Nat, how are you thinking about, you know, mentoring or supporting others?
So I haven't done anything like officially, but anytime anybody slides into my DMs with a question, like I will answer it. As far as like teaching, I kind of feel like I'm a part of like the Launchpad for Vogue. I wasn't really a part of it, but they reached out, and so I've been teaching with Vogue since last summer.
Yes.
So that's kind of been, I don't want to say trial by fire, but yeah, trial by fire. So I've been learning how to teach and how to support other people. So that's been a really good experience for me. So anytime that I learn something, whether it's about the algorithm, about just pretty much anything, like I will share it. And I know people are like, oh, well, you know, you should probably charge for this. I'm like, well, I didn't pay for it, so I'm not gonna charge for it.
Right.
So if you ask me the question, I'm gonna give you the answer.
I love that. I love that. Just it's one thing if I have something that is my intellectual property that I developed, right? It's very different than if I've got it from Google you, then I'm gonna share it. Like, okay, I'm just gonna save you the search effort and just tell you how I found it. I think that's really wonderful, Nat. Thank you, Shayla. What are you thinking about? Bringing others along.
Well, I'm just starting out. So like Nat, um I haven't really officially been put in a position where I can officially help others out. I will say that a lot of people have helped me out, and the the transfer of information and people helping me out has really set in motion a wheel. It's kind of like one of those things where when the person in front of you pays for your lunch, then you pay for the person behind you, and so on. So it really puts into the air like a, a, a feeling of wanting to give that information and hand that information over to the next person who might not. I might be on chapter 2, and the person who passed their information down to me might be in chapter 4, but there might be a person who's still in the they're still in the jacket of their book, and so I want to pass that information down to others. Like I've had a few people that reach out to me and they ask me about enamel pen making and that whole process. They ask me about sewing machines and how to stitch and different things, and I'm always very forthcoming with information because I learned it from somebody. Somebody gave that information to me, and so I try to pass that information along. Um, but I'm super grateful for all of the makers who have like reached out to me and really guided me along the way, because I'm still in the baby stages of my business, but people have been so amazing, and so it encourages me to be amazing to others who are uh, you know are coming into the fiber community and they're still in their infant stages of their businesses.
So I am beaming and I'm smiling at you, and I'm so proud of you. And a way that we can all pay it forward is when we were talking about the up and coming creatives that you should be following. Black Pearl Magic is an up and coming creative. So if you're not following her, please do so by the end of the evening. I will never steer you wrong. So you should definitely follow her. So
Thank you.
we officially extended this Zoom to go to 8:15 because we knew the conversation would be rich, and so we hope that you will continue to stay on with us. It's a little right before 8. We will end on time at 8:15, but we knew that we wanted to make sure that we had enough. This is a rich conversation. How are we going to plan for our future in 55 minutes? No, we need a little bit more time. So thank you for writing.
And don't forget, if you do, just to throw it in there, in case you needed some more incentive to say, we are giving away 3 of these bags. So, if you stay until 8:15, you may get a chance to win.
You mean the bag that when I saw you this week that you could have given me? That bag?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I think you're on mute.
I'm just realizing now. No. Okay. So Austin is checking for questions.
Yeah, I have a couple written down. So
okay, so give us some of the questions then.
Sure. So we have a question asking, what are your views on Etsy and its effects on the Black creative community?
I'm sorry. I'm moderator.
Shayla, you have some thoughts?
Shayla.
I do. So I currently sell on Etsy. I have an Etsy shop, and before I started making and selling bags and different things, I wasn't well versed in business, and so I didn't really know which other avenues existed out there for me. I didn't have my own audience, and so I I knew that that I turned to Etsy for handmade goods, and I knew that other people turned to Etsy when they were looking for handmade goods. With that being said, I think that Etsy is an awesome resource for new business owners who don't have their own audience, because it's essentially a search engine, and you don't have to drive consumers there. Consumers will look for you, if that makes sense. People can, their analytics are really good in telling you how many people you get from social media and how many people that you get from the Etsy search engine. I think that starting out, it's really good. Now, I've had my Etsy, I've had my Etsy shop for a little over a year and a half, and it's time. I'm ready to cross that bridge. I'm ready to I am ready to move off of Etsy as a platform. I think that starting out, it was more of a mental process of me thinking that I didn't have the consumers that I needed to drive them to my website, direct traffic. And so I thought that I needed Etsy. However, looking at the analytics, I think 2% of my customers come from Etsy searches. 2%. That's 1, 2.
Yeah.
It was 1, 2%.
Dos.
So yeah, yes. So yeah, I think that Etsy, and another thing that recently has happened to me, and another recent revelation that I've had of dealing with Etsy, is that when people ask when you get something from Etsy and somebody says, "Oh, that's really cute. Where did you get that from?" You know what people say? Etsy.
Right.
They say, "I got it from Etsy."
About the branding.
They don't say,
Branding.
"I got it from Black Pearl Magic." They don't say, "Oh, I got this from Shayla." They say, "I got it from Etsy." They don't even remember the name of the shop. They just say, "I got it from Etsy." I think that it's easier. You might think that it's easier upfront to get those consumers. However, you have to put so much more work into your branding, because if you want to leave a lasting impression and have those customers to return, you have to wow them. Because those people, they haven't really sought you out, they've sought Etsy out.
Right.
And so to leave a taste in people's mouth, you gotta go the extra mile, and sometimes that can be hard.
So Shayla is Black Pro Magic. Austin's going to keep dropping all of our IGs in the chat. Before we take the next question, I have a list of points that I know we wanted to make. Some of them we touched on. Some we didn't. The one point that I have a couple of points, but the one point that I'd like us to make sure that we talk about now, and I thought that Vincent was going to go there when he was speaking, it is the expectation that Black people are a monolith, right? And when we had our call, everyone was like, oh yeah, okay. So, okay, hold on, wait. Vincent, did you have something that you wanted to offer into the space? Please.
Sure. When I come into contact with people, one of the most frustrating things that I've experienced in most of my life, be that in fiber or outside of fiber, is, "Oh, you're so let's say you speak so well," or, "Oh, I didn't know that wow, you play the cello. How surprising," or, "Wow, you knit. Beautiful. That's great." And that has been one of the things that used to frustrate me so much. But realizing that we are not a monolith, we are multifaceted, we don't have the same views as Black people. Like, as a Black person, I may not have the same experience as someone who's lived somewhere else, like me being from New Jersey, being a man, being 6'3", being a man with locks, is going to be a very different experience no matter what I'm interested in, be that music, animals, knitting. That's going to be very different than someone who may be 5 foot even, a mom who's single with 3 kids from a completely different place. Like, that's going to be a different experience. And so we are all not the same. We're going to have different talents to bring, different skills to offer, different aesthetics, different levels of expertise. So being able to see us as a beautiful palette to select, to paint your own beautiful picture is the goal at the end of the day, rather than seeing us all as a singular page.
I
We
love
want you to see as a palette to paint your picture. That is the world.
I love it. I can't even tell you how many Rhinebeck's Vogue I have entered the space and somebody's like, Shamika. I love Shamika. Shamika is my girl. I am not Shamika.
Yeah.
It's like we're the same. Like, look a little closer. But that piece. Did anybody else want to talk about that? We talked about that a lot when we had our pre-
Yes.
I
So
do too. We all do. We all got something to say.
when we were talking about that, it made me think about like my actual like Instagram feed, right? So I will be talking about being Black, injustice, everything under the sun today. Tomorrow, you might just see some yarn. So I am not just, the collective or individual trauma and experience of being a Black person. I'm a mother, I'm a wife,
Yes.
I'm a creative, I'm all those things. I'm not just one thing. As a matter of fact, I like fantasy and sci-fi.
There you go.
I second that.
That might not be something people think I, as a Black person, should be into. Don't make assumptions about me. Come on in and get to know me, because you can get all kind of things from my feed.
I love it. And wait,
And it's just a little square. It's just a tiny little square, one by one. It's not my life.
oh my goodness. So
And kind of,
to go, but whoever wants to go. But wait, I'm just thinking because one, we also talked about our narrative not only being trauma. That's one.
Yes.
Two, we also talked about don't assume you know my life because you know my Instagram square, because trust and believe that is well curated. But that's part two of the conversation. But go ahead, Diane. Shayla, go.
Shayla, you go.
No, I just wanted to jump in and also say that to the point that both Nat and Vesuvius were making, like, I want people to know that just because I'm pro-Black doesn't make me anti-white.
Ooh.
I can be both.
Say that again, please.
Just because I'm pro-Black, it doesn't make me anti-white. You can be both. That it exists. I am that. You don't have to choose. There is a gray area there.
I love it.
Yes, we talked. This is the second conversation. One of the people get neighborhood fibers and I mixed up all the time, and that's like you talked about that. One of the people will go on my business page, Lady Yarns. My private, and I had this conversation before, but my personal page is private, and it's only my closest friends and my family. But and I'm a private person, but at the same time, people make assumptions about people, particularly Black people, and it's like that's not the case. I love Vivaldi. I love football. Love sports. Like, I do love business. I love helping people, but there's more. Like we talked about Instagram is not, and this is I think what Shayla had discussed. Is Instagram is not like the Bible. Like this is not like this is we are more than Instagram. Other people choose to do what they want. How much you want to reveal of yourself is what you put out there. But not every Black person's the same way, and our approaches are not the same way. Our friendships with people, we talked about this, are not the same. Who you think is problematic, Natalie, you could talk about that, or Cece, whoever. We're just monolithic. Relationships that we know are not going to be the same as other people, but we use Instagram as the Bible of this is this. And it's just not the case. I am more than Instagram. And I am more than, I am the company's Lady Di Yarns, and the person behind Lady Di Yarns is even more.
Oh my
Mhm.
So anyway.
We were talking about that and how Instagram is not the judge and jury. You don't get to decide who is problematic for me. Problematic is the continuing occurrence of events and, moments where you get checked, but you keep doing it. That could be problematic. But one incident is a mistake. And we have to give people the same grace that we are asking for.
Listen.
Give people a chance to grow and learn and make the changes.
Yes.
Cancel culture is for the really bad people.
Exactly. And we had a whole conversation about, and again, I've been in the crosshairs of making my statements, because it's and I'll stand on that again, right? The cancel culture, and we quickly became a cancel culture community for a period of time. And to cancel someone, yes, there are people who have committed atrocious things, and they should be, right? But when people make mistakes, and I'm going to say make mistakes, and maybe there's ignorance, I'm not going to turn a blind eye, but I want to allow you to evolve, right? Because again, I'm going to for a quick second go to my Christian route, right? As a Christian, the amount of sins over my life, right? If Jesus said, you know what, I'm canceling her, I'm done. And so I can't say that I'm a Christian and not allow for the evolution of people. Canceling people is shame, and shame brings about acting, not action. And so what I want to do, the reason why I bring my voice to this conversation, is to educate you so that you can be a better person the next time around. Good human 2.0, better than you were last time that we had this conversation. So I'm gonna get my ladder and step down off my soapbox, because we have
I think we're gonna have to have a Knit the Future Black Panelist Part 2 is what it sounds like.
And not every Black business runs like we talk about monolithic. Not every Black business runs the same way. And there's this assumption that we're all boxed in. We're not boxed. We shouldn't. Everyone's different.
Everyone is different. Okay, everyone gets 30 seconds. Well, no, I'll give you a minute. The last point that I want to make as we move on and as we leave people with something to think about is, how can we continue to create spaces that are safe for all? And that's our last question. So what does that mean? What does having a safe space mean, and how can we continue to do it? And you each can take a different part of that. Go, Shayla.
I think that it goes back to preschool, where you learn to treat others the way that you want to be treated. I think that if we all take that approach going into our everyday interactions with businesses and our fiber community space, I think that we can create a space that is safe for all. And I think that it's important to remember that your corner of the fiber community is your corner. You're welcome to manipulate and curate that in any way that you'd like. And if you don't like something, you can just simply go ahead and unfollow and hit the block button and just keep it pushing.
Yes, thank you. Unfollow, block, right? It's
super easy. Exactly. Super easy.
Safe space, Vincent.
Moving forward and creating safe spaces that are inclusive for everyone, in terms of my crafty corner of the internet, will be allowing people to find joy, inspiration, as well as knowledge for whatever little bit of the craft world they're in, whether even outside of the craft world. But within my like crafty corner of the internet, it's being able to come and find knowledge and be able to share in joy and inspiration so that you can continue to grow and not just feel the weight of the world. Because at the end of the day, a lot of us come to this craft for joy. So being able to have a space where, yes, come if you come to me with it, don't forget I'm a nice man. However, we can bring the heat if you like. But first, you come to find joy and inspiration. So that's how I'm moving forward.
Thank you. Di, safety.
How do safety and how do we create? I just think that I go back to like I mean I think that people need to rethink like critical thinking skills, and I don't say it in a negative like safety like how something makes you feel. Like we react a lot before we think. So I think when we want to create a safe space for people, think about how does something make you feel, or how did that make you feel? And that takes a lot about critical thinking. And you've got to be able to, like, social media, particularly as we talk about it, this is even being social, right? We often react before we think and process. And social media is made for that. So we need to be, if you really want to create a safe environment too, you have to be able to process the information about how it makes you feel and how you think that'll make the other person feel before you respond, before you approach different things. That's that part of like making it safe is important.
Nat?
I think that because we all approach things differently, each of our spaces in social media are going to be different. For me, I hold try Jesus, not me. That's where I am. I'm just going to be honest with you. You can come into my space and you're going to find all the joy. You're going to find all the yarn. I got a lot of sass. I do. I'm liable to say just about anything. The one thing I will not tolerate, and this is me keeping a safe space in my space, is attacking other people. You can have a difference of opinion. There are certain things we can't have a difference of opinion on, but you can have a difference of opinion. You can have conversations, but if you attack someone, you get shown to the Black Party.
I love it. I love it. I love it. This was amazing. Perfect way to end. We went a little over, but I think it was worth the extra time. Vincent, Di, Natalie, Shayla, thank you so much for letting us into your crafty corner, your little space of the world, and sharing your perspective. As I'll let Austin close it out. The one thing that I will say is from an algorithm perspective, right? Please go ahead and follow us. Not only like what we're putting out there, but comment on it, because that helps the algorithm and keeps us relevant. And so with that, I'm gonna turn it over to our fearless leader to close us out and to give away our totes.
We certainly will. Thank you so much, first of all, Cecilia, for moderating this fabulous discussion. I could not have asked for a better moderator, a better board member, a better friend. And I promise you'll get one of these tote bags the next time I see you. So you have one ready for you. To our moderator, to our panelists, Nat, Diane, Shayla, and Vincent, thank you all so much for being willing to share your stories and share your thoughts on all of this stuff, because I know a lot of times we often feel as Black people that we have to speak for the whole community. And so I really appreciate each of you coming and being willing to share your own individual stories and your own thoughts and experiences. And I hope that everyone in the room can take away that these are our own, each individual thoughts and experiences and opinions, and that we don't speak for the whole Black or whole BIPOC community. And that's why I want to continue to have these conversations. So we're going to keep having these in the future discussions so that you can keep hearing from multiple different perspectives on the fiber arts community. And one thing that the reason this relates to our mission is because a majority of the homeless youth that we serve are Black and brown people. A majority of the homeless individuals in New York City are Black and brown people, and in the United States are Black and brown people. And that translates down to the very specific community of the LGBTQ plus youth that we serve. A majority of those folks, probably upwards of 80%, are Black and Brown folks. So that's why these discussions about inclusivity and diversity in all communities are really important and part of our mission at Knit the Rainbow as well. So thank you all so much for joining us. And last but certainly not least, we are going to give away our 3 Knit the Rainbow canvas bags. So let me just show it off for you. We have a whole nice big large project bag here with our new logo, Knit the Rainbow. When you open it up on the inside, we have a nice little pocket here where you can hold nice little doodads, and then you just have a nice open bag. So do with it as you will. Our 3 winners have been randomly selected, and when you are announced, if you want to unmute yourself and you can, say hello, and I will need your Instagram handle or email so that I can get in contact with you to ship it to you. So if you're one of our winners, feel free to unmute and tell us what your Instagram handle is or your email, and we'll get that to you. So our first winner of the evening is, let me grab the names off of, and I apologize ahead of time if I mispronounce your name, because I don't know you all yet. So please correct me if I'm wrong. So our first winner is Katika Jones.
Yep. Oh my goodness.
Yes. Are we here?
That's me.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
Yes, congrats. How do you
Thank you.
pronounce your name?
Katika.
Katika Jones. Lovely. Well, if you just want to send, you can either send us an email. Let me put the email in the chat. info@rainbow, and you can send us over. We'll get in contact about getting this shipped over to you. So congrats on winner number 1.
Thanks, Austin.
Absolutely. Winner number 2 is Tom Sinclair.
Ooh.
Are you here, Tom?
Here, Tom?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, Tom.
Hi there. Congrats. Thanks for joining us tonight. And you are the winner of one of our 3 bags. So again, I put the email in the chat, so please feel free to email us and we'll get in contact with you about how to ship it. And our last and final winner is Natasha Stewart. Natasha Stewart, are you here?
We're like,
yes, I was trying to unmute myself. Yay!
Yes, hi Natasha. Thanks for joining us, and congrats on your win.
Yay!
And we'll shoot you an email if you want to send an email to our info@knittherainbow.org. We'll chat about how we can get it over to you.
Oh, sounds like a plan. Thanks, everyone. Great discussion.
Thank you, Natasha.
Thank you again to everyone so much for joining us. Keep tuned for the next of the future series. Please subscribe to our monthly newsletter. It's once a month, so I promise I won't spam your inboxes, and you'll be able to hear more about what our next Knit the Future series is going to be about. Again, thank you so much to our panelists. Thank you to Cecilia, and thank you to everyone who took the time to be with us tonight.
Thank you, everyone.